Hello, everybody.
Everybody.
Welcome to Spirituality Live. I am Greg Campisi, and today I have with me...
I'm Samuel Haines. How are you today?
Welcome, Sam.
Great to be here, Greg. Thanks.
Awesome to have Sam on the show today. Today, what is our topic, Sam?
Yeah, our soul's divine mission.
Our soul's divine mission. Yeah. And our last Spirituality Live episode was right on New Year's Eve. I was with Rian, and we were talking about setting intentions for the new year, clearing energy for going into 2020, and especially because we're starting a whole new decade. Right. So this is the perfect time for you to really set some intentions and tune in with yourself, not just for the next year, but for the next decade.
Right. Right.
So when I asked Sam to be on, we were kind of just tuning into what a good topic would be, and he mentioned this, the tuning into your soul's mission, and again, it's a perfect time for it because we're setting intentions for the next decade. So it's the perfect time to tune into what your soul mission is. And if you don't know what it is, it's a good time to find a way, right? Ask that question, yeah. Find a way to tune into it, meditate, whatever. And we'll talk about that. So we'll talk about tuning into discovering your soul's mission and what you can do to fulfill it,
Yeah. I want to thank everyone for checking in today. And do I have to resume? There we go. Technology and buttons.
A little technical difficulty. Yeah. We're streaming live to my page. We're also streaming live to Sam's page, and then we also record the show, and it's replayed on Facebook. I will also add it to the Awaken YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/awakenche, and you can always subscribe to that and be notified whenever we have new shows or videos, or I do daily posts as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're trying out the lunch hour to see how that works for people. So the soul's mission is not a small topic, and probably each of us has an idea of what that might look like, right? We've lived enough life. We've butted our heads against the walls enough time to realize what mostly does and doesn't work for us, and we're all at different points on that journey. I know I am. I've gone through several different stages of life where I've done different things. I've been a trash collector. I've been a daycare teacher. I've been a father. I've been a husband. I've been a warehouse worker. I've been truck drivers. I've been musician. I've been leaders, and I've been followers. So there's lots of things that one can do within their lives, and it all goes towards answering the question, does this fit me? Do I fit it? And a lot of things pushed back and said no. Certain things felt very obviously they didn't fit. And there were many things I tried to make fit. And eventually came around to some senses and realized, no, it's really not working for me. It's a mixture of creativity, expression, and integrity and honesty. Asking the questions that might lead towards change are hard questions to look at, whether it's a big change or a small change. Change is change, and our comfort zone gets challenged at every time we consider change. And I know as far as my life has gone, there have been times I've leaped towards change, so sometimes I've dug in my feet and held back from it.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone is familiar with the difference between having a job and a career. For me, because I got into spirituality a little later in life when I was about 30. So, in high school and trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life and all that kind of stuff, I always loved art. So I always wanted to do something art related, and it was the dawn of the desktop publishing era. And it was even before there was a visual web to design for. So, for me, it was a clear career path. I wanted to do something artistic, went into desktop publishing and graphic design. And I loved it because it was a great way for me to be creative without being a starving artist and have kind of a real job.
Sure.
And then that all got turned upside down when I got onto my spiritual path and started awakening. So there's a lot of people out there. I know that there's many of you where you have your jobs, you have your careers, but there's more that you want to do. And sometimes it's just a creative itch.
Right. And
your creative itch could be your creative itch could be connected to your soul purpose.
Yeah.
I think we're also just creative beings, so we're always just looking for a way to create, whether it's music or art or cooking or whatever. Right. So there's also that creativity that wants to come out of us, but that's still also different from our soul's calling.
I think so.
And for a lot of people, there are some people out there that know that they're meant for more, and they don't know what, you know, and I feel like we've all been there at some point, you know. Many of you probably are at that point. So there's that calling, and you're not sure what it is. And then there's, in my experience, and from what I've also seen from others, when you get on your spiritual path and you start that path of awakening, a regular mundane job just isn't enough. Like, because you're hungry for growth and you're hungry to help other people. And again, for me, and I feel like this extends to a lot of other people, it's very difficult for us to see others in pain, and you want to help. You know, so I know that there's a lot of soul missions that are about helping others and making it a better world, but even that shows up in different ways.
Yeah. So what one of the things I found in looking at my life, talking with Wendy and also our clients and students, is that essential action that we want to express. Once we find it, it always seems to incorporate fulfillment includes serving humanity towards some level. Some people are great executives and they run businesses that employ people. Some people are excellent at running nonprofits and gathering community energy to make change in the community for the community at all kinds of levels. But there's something in the expression of the human soul that seeks to fulfill itself, and that seems to go hand in hand with some aspect of service, which is really good, because we want to be that top champagne glass is the model we always offer our students and clients. What that means is receive to the point of you're so full of blessings that you overflow into the world around you. It's not so much giving from the exhaustive place of I'm a giver, I don't want to receive any compliments, I don't receive any money for it, I'm going to give. And we give to exhaustion, and then what do we have left? We have nothing for ourselves, our family, and what we've been giving for. So look at the model and consider if it fits for you. Be a champagne glass on the top of that pyramid, or a water cup, whatever you want to do. just
right. It doesn't have to be alcoholic.
Right.
It can be sparkly cider.
It could be, yeah. But something tasteful, right? But receive so much that you overflow, and you're naturally going to overflow into the spaces around you, the relationships, interactions. And most importantly, you're going to show up in your life in a completely different state. You're going to surprise yourself how your stamina increases, but also the opportunities that the overflow takes you towards. You're going to naturally feel empowered to take risks that maybe you wouldn't feel up to if you're already exhausted and giving from your own store. So it's a different way of living. It's a different way of thinking about self-permission. Is one piece. Who am I to be so great? Who am I to be blessed when there's so much suffering in the world? You know, careful. That's a trap we can fall into that makes us suffer and join the misery, as opposed to becoming so enriched that we can do something about the misery around us. We bring a spirit into the world, and that's what makes the world a better place. And that's what becomes the giving and the thoughtfulness and the mindfulness, I think, in my experience.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
There is no right or wrong.
No, there's not.
So let's kind of break it down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you, there are some of you out there that I'm sure know your purpose and you're living your purpose on different levels. If you're not really sure what your purpose is, you know, this and this is part of, you know, because it's Spirituality Live, right? So we tackle all aspects of spirituality. Basic things: meditating, always asking, ask and receive. Right. If you have a question, if you know, and it always starts with feelings, right? If you're not sure you're living your purpose, or you're not sure what your purpose is, tune in, meditate, ask, and you know, meditation is a great tool. But I also don't want people to get stuck on that. I mean, to me, prayer and meditating is almost the same. You know, it's the whole ask and receive kind of thing. You can be out on a walk in nature and just put it out there and be like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? You don't necessarily have to be sitting down, lotus position, you know, with your hands or whatever to receive answers. Right. They come to you in different ways. And sometimes people overcomplicate it because it's just like, you know, you think you have to have your candle set and all the right, everything just right and the right music on and all this kind of stuff, and then meditate for an hour and maybe journal and like, why isn't it coming to me? And I get caught up in that too sometimes. And then I just remember like, oh, I can just ask and I'll probably just hear a little voice in my head, and sometimes I get an answer within like 10 seconds rather than like 60 minutes later, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Or several days later. Yeah. So anyway, you know, if you're tuning into your mission, right, the first thing is to get a hold of what it is. There's a good chance that a lot of you already have a feeling what you really want to be doing, how you want to be helping the world, helping others, what you want to be putting out there. And now I'm curious your take on this. I mean, when I hear divine soul mission, when we talk about soul mission, I think of that connection to God. So a lot of times soul mission does seem to be about helping others or helping the world.
Right. Some greater arc of service.
Right. A greater service than ourselves. And I don't know if there's other areas of that you've seen that don't always have to be about serving others or directly serving others.
Sure. Yeah. Well, IET offers, which IET stands for Integrated Energy Therapy, and
which is an energy healing modality, similar to Reiki. If you're not familiar,
correct.
If you haven't heard of IET,
you can check out learniet.com, and it's the website for the Center of Being. But that works with the angels and the administrator, so to speak, of IET. The angel, such, is Ariel, and she says the thing that would give you the most joy, the thing that would be too good to be true, is the very thing that the divine has for you to do within this life. There's some truth in that, and it's never as simple as just follow your joy. We can follow our joy off the cliff. There's always some discernment involved in these things. And what's true for me is what brings me joy is often associated with the things that are very good for me and positive for me. And when I'm honest about my joy, it's often on the other side of some chasm of fear, whether it's a little speed bump of fear or a really big fiery pit of fear. And so my joy invites me, it's fantastic. My joy invites me to move through my fears, to face the things that I have to grow through as my soul. Right? We're here to have experiences. We're here to serve. We're here to learn and grow on a soul level, and we come here in this very polarized, difficult place. We forget why we come here, and we have to rediscover it. And it's a reawakening to ourselves. And our joy is this little voice, this little carrot that pulls us forward towards something, and often through other things, whether it's relationships, making hard calls, challenging people. There's something there's something about that gold on the other side of some challenge that makes it so worthwhile to grow, reach. And then that's part of the joy, is the growth, experiencing that boon that you didn't think was going to happen. Some fearful thing turns into a blessing. And we don't know how. We can't see how it's going to happen. We have to show up in that faith and that hope and that trust, all the virtues that are available to us spiritually, these spiritual gifts that connect us with discovering our divine mission. And I didn't come out of my mother's womb knowing what I was here to do. I've got joys, I've got tastes, I've got experiences, and I've got horror stories that I've had to work through to find how to show up. For me, my greatest joy, I love showing up. I love being present. I love being seen. And for most of my life, I was so scared to be seen for being attacked because growing up, if I was seen by certain people, it was a very dangerous thing. I'm not going to go into those details here because that's not the topic of today. Suffice to say, we grow through challenges, and our joy is something that invites us to reach towards it. So when we pose the question, our soul's mission, there's something about that is beyond our reach, but within our grasp, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which one?
Beyond our reach, but within our grasp. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is, so when it comes to your mission, so after you tune in, you might know, or you tune in or whatever, and you start getting a feeling of what you really want to do, what your heart's calling you to do, what you feel pulled to do, guided to do, choose a term.
Yeah.
Once you kind of get that down, then the path that you take can vary. And we're not here to tell you what's right for you. No one can tell you what's right for you. People can guide you. They can advise you. And at the end of the day, and again, it comes back to tuning in. You need to really tune in and see what path to fulfilling your mission feels right. And there's a very good chance you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way and learn the hard way. And that's okay too. That's okay too. I love throwing out some Star Wars quotes. Yoda from The Last Jedi, fear the greatest teacher, failure the greatest teacher is. So we learn just as much from our failures as we do from our successes. And there's a lot of successful people out there that'll tell you that they had, one or more businesses fail, maybe even bankruptcy, whatever, before they created this super successful billion-dollar business. You know, it was part of their path. Yeah. So there are some people where they're so strongly pulled towards their mission that they have to drop everything. They have to quit their job right away and just take a leap of faith. And that's fine. The most important thing when you're doing something like that is really holding on to the faith, you know, just really believing that it's all going to work out, that, you know, the money will come the right way, the people that you need to meet will come to you, and that everything is in divine timing. And it helps to get rid of any fear around it. And it also helps if there's a lot of people doubting you to not spend too much time around them or talking to them. Right. But I'm all about balance, you know, so you want to do it in a way that also makes sense. You know, it helps to have a plan. If you've done things completely on faith before and it worked, then have at it. Right. If you're new to it, you know, don't be like, well, Greg and Sam said just to quit your job and take a leap of faith and it'll all work out. You know, it's different for everybody, and it also depends on where you are personally. If you have not worked on yourself and you still have some issues to overcome, those lessons are still going to come through on your path to your mission.
That's a very good
In fact, they might come through even stronger. Yeah. So, you know, get that vision. And even like writing, you know, like it's a good way to write. Once that vision starts coming to you, it's a great idea to write it down, you know, put it, you know, I like physically writing things down when I'm trying to manifest things. You can type it out, whatever you want. Throw it out there on a Facebook post, like just to put it out there in reality. Like, this is what I'm being called to do today. I'm starting the journey towards it, whatever it's going to look like or however long it's going to take, you know, and don't put, you know, too many, I don't know, with the expectations, you know, don't put too many expectations on yourself that you have to be there by a certain time. It has to be done within a certain time frame. It has to be done a certain way, because that's just gonna, it's just gonna limit yourself. Yeah. You know.
One of the questions we ask our clients, I've asked myself, Wendy's asked herself, is.
Oh, and just so you know, he refers to Wendy a lot. Wendy's his lovely partner and a good friend of mine as well, Wendy Rose. Yeah. So, and they live and work together. So, you know, her name will come up a lot.
It certainly will. So we ask ourselves, what would make me happy? What's the most important thing to me right now? What would make me so incredibly happy, right? It's just another variation of what Ariel poses to us. What's the thing that would make us so happy? And that can change. It's not always the same thing year by year. Sometimes they all weave into becoming these pieces that over time become this body of self-knowledge that round me out. They make me a richer person. Have they made me wealthy? Not yet. You know, will they? Who knows?
Right. Hopefully.
I hope so.
So let me interrupt real quick. That's a very good point, because the soul mission, like, it doesn't have to be like set in stone. Like, this is it. Like, I cannot veer from my mission, you know, because again, anytime you put limitations and expectations and rigidity into something, it's not flowing. It's not going to flow. So it's possible that you will have several steps, smaller steps on the way to the bigger mission, or you might have a very clearly defined mission right now, but it might change. Yeah. And it might change without you, you know, fulfilling it.
Expectations.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because the world is constantly changing. Everything's shifting, energy shifting, people shifting, the world is shifting, the consciousness is shifting. So we need to just be in that flow along with it and serve however we're guided to in the moment.
Open-mindedness is a huge thing too. I've had to unwrite many stories I had about myself, the world, and people, because those stories were by nature limiting. A story can't tell the whole truth. You know, you think you know something based on a piece of data and then all the story attached to it. Well, the data is data, right? The data can be measured. People can agree upon data. The story is something I own, and it's colored with my fears, my experiences, my dreams. So it's filtered by me. And as I do my work, I realize these stories don't fit me. I'm not this person, or I'm not only this, or this is not the entire sum of what's potential for me. And so all those little steps along the way, it requires me to sacrifice pieces of what I've held dear, right? So we have to challenge our identity, challenge beliefs, and that's a challenging thing to do. We build our lives upon a foundation, and when we have to change that foundation, we need to either take down what's built on it or support it and prop it up in some other way. It's challenging work, and it's inner work, and it's work that we have to do to move forward in our lives. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah. Well said. So you have your mission, you're working towards it. Yeah. And along with how to work towards your mission, right? So like I mentioned, there are the people that just go for it, like full in,
Right.
this is my calling, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And there's the slow and steady race, and in between as well. But yeah, the slow and steady is what I've done with AWAKEN. So I've been working at AWAKEN for like 8 years now, since I had that vision. So AWAKEN is the perfect example. So I went to school for graphic design and website design, and that's my job. Like I've been in and out of some actual jobs where I was doing design, in-house designer, lead designer, all kinds of fun stuff, product design, and I had a lot of fun with it. And when I lost my last full-time job, which was quite a while ago, I decided to just start freelancing full-time. And the interesting thing was that coincided with me starting to open up spiritually. So again, everything's just divine timing. And along that path of me trying to kind of understand awakening and spirituality and where this is taking me and what I'm feeling about it, and learning to meditate and finding community, like along that journey, it really came to me that there's more people out there that are awakening than I think any of us realize, because not everybody talks about it. There's a lot of people that are either curious or having just spiritual experiences, or having full-blown awakenings where they're starting to see auras and hear things and see entities and all kinds of things. So it's every level that the spiritual path happens on. And when you get on that spiritual path, a lot of time that's really where that calling starts coming in. Not required, but it does usually go hand in hand. When you start your spiritual path, you start feeling this calling to do something different, do something more, and really help people. So for me, it was about creating a space and a center where spiritual people could come together, they could grow, and I could also help those people that were awakening, because it can be scary, it can be confusing, it can be very, it can lead you to a lot of solitude, because you start awakening and your friends may not understand, your parents may not understand, your other family members may not understand. And if you don't have somewhere to go, if you don't have a support system, it can be a little bit of a difficult path, So that's why I started AWAKEN. I wanted to help people on that path of awakening. And for the people that were already there, I wanted to continually support them and offer them ways to come together, to meditate, to continue the personal growth. And there's a lot of things. AWAKEN's doing all kinds of things, and I got a lot more plans going on. And every time I think about it, is AWAKEN really working? Is it worth the time that I'm putting into versus the return on investment, which isn't a whole lot right now? And even starting the center, is it worth having a physical center? Is it worth continuing the center? But every time I check in, I keep feeling like this is it. I'm not on this earth to design websites, even though it's wonderful that I can, and I have that ability, but that's not the mission. That's not the purpose. I am here to help the world awaken, and I will not be happy if I'm doing anything else. And my partner, my significant other, Sue, she's feeling that too. She's been awake for a long time, really worked on herself several years ago, got to an amazing state of being, and she's a nurse. And through her work at the hospital, and there's also a lot of different ways you can deliver your purpose. So her purpose is really about, helping people and reaching people and working one-on-one and healing. And she can do that through the hospital. But the way the hospitals run, it's become very corporate, and they're very much about bottom line and money and turnover, and look at patients as numbers. And it's gotten to the point where the care has been taken out of hospital care and hospital stays. And it's just physically and mentally and emotionally draining on her. So she got to the point where she's like, I got to do something else. And, tuning in, listening to that calling of what do I do? And again, it might change, but right now it's staying in that care area. And it's very helpful if the skills that you've learned up to now can also help support your mission and your purpose. For me, building AWAKEN, the fact that I was a marketer and a designer, I brought that all in. I created the logo and brochures and business cards and website and all this stuff. It's an amazing blessing. It's a huge blessing and a huge gift that I have the skills that I have, and I can bring them to AWAKEN and add them to filling my purpose. For Sue, she's a caregiver. So she switched from hospital to home care, and now we're working on her starting her own holistic home care business, because there's barely any of that out of there. You're lucky if you have a home care person that's actually caring for the person and really connecting with the person, let alone on a spiritual level, and let alone on an energetic level. And so for her to bring in energy healing and meditation and awakening and helping people shift their mindsets from a home care perspective, you know, especially people that are sick, because who needs home care? They're people that are either elderly or sick, and to help them heal on a totally different level, mind, body, and spirit, it's incredible. It's incredible. So it's amazing that she's putting it out there, and we're just getting her out there. We're just getting her set up with it. Yeah. So I've helped her, you know, move closer to her purpose, and she's like right on the cusp of starting it. And she also, in the shift from going from the hospital to a home care, it's part of the transition to her life purpose, because, you know, we still need to get paid. It helps to be able to pay your bills.
It's important.
But to make the jump right from going to the hospital to start your own business from scratch is big, and it's tough because it does take time to build your business and referrals and all that kind of stuff. So for her stepping stone was, let's move from the hospital to a home care agency that has some flexible hours, that allows me some flexibility. And then from there, I can start seeing my own clients and slowly build up my own business, you know. And I'm in the exact same boat with Awaken. When I lost my job and I moved to freelance, that is what allowed me the freedom to really explore spirituality on a bigger level, go out there, not be tied down to a set schedule, and to start Awaken and start marketing and building Awaken without having to worry about another job that was a set of hours and demands and all that kind of stuff. So it's still not easy trying to balance the two of them, but again, it's an amazing blessing that I shifted to freelancing around the same time that Awaken was calling me, because that flexibility in my schedule has allowed me to get to where I am with Awaken, has allowed me to have my expos that we have hundreds of people coming to, has allowed me to have the physical center, which we are actually in right now, coming at you live from.
This beautiful place here.
Right. Look, this is where we are. It's Awaken Center.
One of the things I've noticed is when I was called out of my fog, so to speak, people showed up in my life, right? Eric was a huge guy. You, Wendy, all these people came out of the woodwork around me. When I met Eric, hi Eric, if maybe you're watching at some point in the future. I met Eric in 2009. I was in a very miserable space, and I just felt pulled one day to go to Doylestown. It was a Friday evening, and it was their First Fridays. They used to have these amazing First Fridays back in the day. I hope they come back. And I was just out in this fog, walking around, and I felt so exposed. It's so hard to be out in public for me. And I'm walking around, trying to find a place that was comfortable. And there were thousands of people in there. I felt like they were all looking at me. And something impelled me still to stay there and be present. And so I'm walking around, and I come across this place, and I sit down, and it just feels right. And there's this guy playing Native American flute, so a couple of women singing, a guy playing drums, and I was mesmerized. And I felt like I'd found a safe place to be for a time, and I just stayed there. I put in roots. And they got done. I didn't talk to Eric that night. I spoke with some others. But through that time, I made connections that then took me towards, next time I saw Eric was a few months later, and I actually made other connections, and I brought their performance to a different place in Lansdale. And that's where I actually got to talk to Eric for the first time. And it was like finding a brother I didn't meet till I was, I think at the time, 32. And it changed my life. Having these people come into my life reinforced the change that was already coming into my life. And it wasn't a willful, I want this to change now. And it probably was. It probably was a cry for my soul for something that was meaningful, purposeful, and fit me way more than what I traded for myself through my woundedness. And it's only gotten better from there. It wasn't even really a scary first step. I mean, that first evening going out there was scary. And sometimes that's the price to pay, you know, where we come out of our comfort zones and then we explore this magnificent place around us. We are almost always safer than we project we're going to be. We're almost always more blessed than we project we're going to be. And the surprises just keep coming. My mind is blown daily and weekly about the direction life goes when we just decide to show up. For me, the price is showing up. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to show up, partake, give my best into it, and be as open-minded and responsible and accountable to my values, and which is treating people with respect, dignity, and open-mindedness. And from there, we proceed and see how it goes. That's where my journey has taken me. So where might you be? You might be, as we've said, you might have a piece of your vision. You may have a very defined expression of it. What I found useful is follow your interests. They'll speak to your joy. They'll lead you to this place of development. And if we're growing and developing, we're on the right track. It's when we stop the pinball's motion that the flappers can't push us around anymore. The bumpers can't move us and give us the rewards. So it's our job to keep the ball rolling. Just give it energy. Doesn't matter if we're going in the right direction or not. We just need to be moving. Get yourself moving in some way that feels right to you.
Yeah. Follow your joy.
Follow your joy. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, and this is the funny thing too, because early on with Awaken, now, I mean, I've always been creative, artistic. So, like I mentioned, I did love being a designer and being able to do something creative that was a career field, rather than the starving artist, which my mom was worried I was going to end up becoming,
It's not that bad.
And I don't know if I was that good of a painter either. So I might have struggled a little bit with the starving artist bit, but going into, the career field, something creative, like it was a great way for me to start out my career life and a job path. And then when all this came about, when I got into the spirituality and the vision for Awaken started coming to me and started solidifying, and I needed to just step out. One of my biggest tips to you is 2 parts. Take the first step and keep taking steps. Yeah. Baby steps. It's awesome to make big leaps. You'll know when to do it. And sometimes you're also, again, just taking a risk. Right. But at the very least, always make sure you continue to take baby steps towards your soul's purpose, because if not, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it that you're not doing it. You're not, and you're probably gonna couple it with like some shaming of yourself and some guilt. Sure. So whatever it is you feel you're being called to, take the first step, no matter how small it is. Just start working towards it a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to Sue. Like, one of the things, like, she wanted to start her own business. So you can't do that until you actually have a business registered and you have a bank account, Right. So, like, again, like, you don't have to be out there getting clients and everything, but just those steps, get your business registered and get a bank account set up. Like, I mean, anybody can do that. And that's the first steps. And then, we actually we're working on our website. We're going to launch our website in a little bit, so you need like websites and business cards. So just, again, take those baby steps a little at a time towards what you're doing. One of the other things in conjunction, what I want to do, and it's okay to have more than one divine purpose or show up in a couple different ways. Right. So if my purpose is helping people awaken, I also want to do that through some books. And there's a story that I'm writing called Angel, and I've been working on it for 10 years. Because even though it ties in with my soul purpose, it's not a priority. So it's something that I keep feeling called to, and there's certain, times where I'm being pulled towards it, and I feel it pulling at me a little bit more, and I'll pick it up and start working on it. And then there's other times where it's just not a priority, like working on Awaken and the events and building what I'm building here is a little more important. So it's okay to bounce back and forth between certain things too. But again, it goes back to your joy. Like, always follow your joy. And when I was talking about Awaken, like, if I talk about like websites and stuff like that, like, I might go off about like some technical stuff, but I'm not gonna be that excited about it. You're not gonna be that excited about it. Maybe you will be. I don't know. Maybe a little bit. But when I was talking about Awaken and explaining my vision for Awaken and what I wanted to do with it, like, I like just light beaming, and everyone saw it. Like I talk about Awaken, and anyone listening knows, like, okay, this is what this guy is here to do. Right. I don't get that excited about websites and creating brochures.
Yeah, partnerships are something fascinating, right? There's the idea of soul clusters and spiritual relationships. For me, again, I'm going to go back to Eric. Years before I met Eric, I lived in upstate New York, and I wrote music. I was a sound engineer. I was a bass player. I did festivals. I played all over, and it helped me develop. I was happy doing it. It didn't scratch all my itches, and it didn't fully satisfy me. I thought it did, and for a time it did. But in our growth, certain things need to change. I found myself writing music that didn't fit what I was doing. And I wanted it to be fleshed out and experienced, because I had already had experiences playing music and songs that everyone participated in. The band felt it, we all gelled around, the crowd gelled around. It was a very wonderful, sublime experience. And then other things I was writing, I wanted my expectation was, well, that's going to happen here too. And when it didn't, I got frustrated. I was sad about it. And I tried to write things to go with the ideas I was writing. And it was like these ideas that worked, I would add to them and they would reject what I was trying to add to it. And I tried for years to build these ideas up. And I'm a fairly clever fellow. I know how to write music. I've studied it. I know the mechanisms. So when an idea rejects other ideas that strongly, I don't know what to do here. My training, I can make it make sense, but it's just not selling me. I'm not convinced. And then I meet Eric years later, and we get together to play. He brings his flutes, and I have my guitar. And I say, hey, I've got these ideas. I wonder if they fit for you. And immediately, he started playing something that fit it so well that something opened up inside of me. I opened up. And that thing I've been wanting with such desire and longing for years arrived in my life. And it was in the version of this man. And so it's not just us alone that are meant to succeed. It's not enough to want something and to have this grand vision and think we can make it happen. We have to open up. We have to see beyond ourselves. We also have to perceive that it's not all on us. It's not my responsibility to be everything. And for a long time, I grew up in a family business where my dad is an amazing man and he is capable of so many things. I thought that was the model. And I tormented myself trying to carry every aspect of everything I was trying to accomplish. And I achieved a lot of skills. I know a lot. And the most important piece I've learned is what to delegate. And what to be open to, what to look for, and what to decide I want to do. And even though I could do all these 10 other things involved, I'll have a lot more fun and be more successful if there's other passionate people whose purpose it is to sit in those seats that I need someone to fill up. So making room for others is something that is also really important if you want to get where you want to go.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the last thing that's coming to me with fulfilling your purpose is once you get on that path, and this ties in exactly what you were just saying, when you get on that path, everything starts working with you.
Yeah.
Because we all know when things are working against us.
Well,
it becomes very evident when you're in a place, especially a job where you were just not meant to be. Yeah. The message come at you left and right, and sadly, it often ends up manifesting in physical illness or mental breakdown or something like that. Like when you're in flow, when you're doing something that you were meant to do, that you were passionate about, that you were happy about, that you were joyous about, that's all divine energy flowing through you. You're just buzzing with constant energy. Right. The opposite of that is when you're doing something that not only is something you don't want to do, but really goes against what your soul is asking you to do, then you are working with some real stuck and stagnant energy and going against the flow, Yeah,
and it has real
trying to swim upstream. And we're not salmon.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
It's a daunting thing to look at. My soul's mission. We put so much. There's so much invested in it, and so much reward possible from it. So, what are some resources that are out there around you, right? Identify, what do you need? What's that small attainable action that you can identify and take that's going to help you even just a little bit get clear about your vision? Or if you have a good sense of where you want to go and you've been putting it off because you're not sure what direction to go in or what step to take, there is a next step to take. That's the first thing to consider. There is a next step. And it might be opening a bank account. It might be talking to a friend. It might be finding a life coach. It might be participating in some group activity that involves what you want to do. Get around what you want to do. Live around. Find people who are where you want to be. And even if they're not mentors directly, at least you're around people that reflect and have the energy moving in a way that you want to emulate. Right?
Yeah, that support you, that support your vision.
Yeah.
Read some books, read some articles, related to what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Do a little research, educate yourself. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
And be open, constantly just hold your intention, pray, put it out to the universe, and anytime you feel stuck, tune in or just ask for help. Like, okay, I don't know what to do next. I need, like, because we can't all do anything. And for me, I'm the creative end of things, but I'm not necessarily great as like the financial guy and like the business end of things, So put it out there to the universe. Okay, this is what I want to do, but I need someone to help me in this area because it's not my strong suit, you know? And it's fine. It's important to look at that, to recognize that, and to ask for help. Always ask for help along the way, whether you're asking, for divine help or asking an actual friend for help. Put it out there. Anyway, you can get help. Be willing to ask for it and be open to accepting it however it comes, because sometimes it comes in very unexpected ways and at unexpected times.
And asking for help will very often involve someone whose purpose it is to help you in just that way that you need the help. So you're activating and engaging someone else in their life purpose.
Yeah.
And that's the right track. That's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot, is engaged with purpose.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know fully that it is your purpose, we put so much pressure, and we don't want to highlight, by using the term divine soul's mission, we don't want to highlight and add any pressure to people about, I got to find it. And if not, there's some moral imperative to go find this thing and go do it. Just being on this planet, you're already living part of your purpose. And just living and breathing and taking care of yourself and doing your best to foster good relationships and make the world a little better than where you left it or found it. Those are all small things, and it can look like anything. It can just be like being your best soccer player, your best version of self today in this moment that you're having, because heaven doesn't happen in one big fell swoop. It's one moment at a time, one engagement at a time, one person at a time, and and it also includes you. How I treat myself matters very much in my experience of my life, and then what I go and find in the world around me. So there's many ways to approach this. There's many ways to succeed at it, and you're not alone. You are entirely supported, and if you think you're not, you have more support around you than people who know they are supported, because spirit supports us, and those in greatest need have the greatest benefit around them at all times. So people praying for you right now that you don't even know are praying for you. In different countries, there's probably a monk meditating for everyone listening in right now. So we're supported. It's there for us. The responsible thing for us is to take the action to let it in and find that expression and let that expression back out, just like we breathe. It's an exchange of energy. And when we hold our hands like this, we can hold on to anything. We're ferocious and fierce enough. We can hold on to things really well. But I can't really retain a lot with my closed fists. So when I learn to live like this and I open my hands up, I can't hold anything, but I can receive anything. And as long as it's in my hands, it's useful to me. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. So something else can come into my hand. It's how I've learned to live for myself. It's working for me. Maybe that model works for you. If not, throw it away. It's all right.
Nice. So to sum up, divine soul mission.
Yeah.
First, you got to know what it is. So if you don't, you tune in however you need to, ask, pray, meditate, journal, find a way that works for you to tune into that mission. And often people are already inching towards it and they just may not know it. Like there's just something they're kind of doing on the side.
Right.
Like there's plenty of people out there, not necessarily on a spiritual path, I like my little air quotes, not necessarily on a spiritual path, but are out there volunteering for an organization. They feel drawn to a certain type of organization, or whether it's helping animals or helping nature or whatever it is, helping the homeless. There's a lot of people out there that are living their soul's mission in little ways like that, helping out on the side with organizations, even if it's not their full-time job.
And it could also be pursuing an interest, reading a book, informing oneself about something that is later going to become a valuable piece at a crucial time in other development. So it's not always an outward expression. Developing ourselves is also part of that outward expression.
Yeah. So tune in, get a hold of it. And then when you know what you want to do, what that mission is for you, what's calling you, what your heart and soul is asking for, then take the first step and continue to take baby steps. Write down what it looks like for you. Write down a mission, write down where you wanted to see yourself or your business or whatever it is in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. What's that bigger vision look like, and what can you do now to start it? I started with just an event. I'm like, okay, I want to have a center, but like I can't just go and rent a building and just start doing events and be able to afford it. Like, it's just not going to happen. So a friend of mine, and again, like that's that support. A friend of mine was just like, so just do an event, like just start, do an event. And I was like, what do you mean do an event? I don't even know what to do. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I reached out to some people and some amazing people that I didn't even think would say yes, and they said yes. And had like 50 or 60 people at my first event. Like, it was beautiful. It was awesome.
You're really good at getting people to say yes. You're real good at it.
I've also worked at it. Didn't always work so good in like the high school and college years. I mean, it took time to develop that skill. But it worked. It showed up. It all showed up. It all worked out beautifully. But then I started meetup groups. And my first meetup group, nobody showed up like on time. And I was like, okay, maybe no one's going to show up. And then one person showed up. And I'm like, okay, well, at least I have one. But then I was like sitting there talking to her, feeling real disappointed. I'm like, okay, here's my spiritual discussion night that we're starting, and it's just 2 people. And again, it's expectations and limitations. I had to get that out of my head. Like, if it's only one person that I'm helping, it's one person that I'm helping and bettering their life in some way. And they're bettering mine too. I don't want to be that egotistical that like, oh, like I made a big change in their life. It goes both ways. Like, this whole path that I've been on has changed me as well. And I've met amazing people along the way. So, and the funny thing is, because I'm sitting there focused on like, oh, there's only one person, and just people were running late. Like later on, like 2 or 3 other people showed up, and it just grew from there. So just keep taking those baby steps. Don't lose heart. Keep your intent in mind. Keep moving forward. Keep working towards it in little ways.
Find support.
Find support. Yes, and find support in whatever ways you can. You need to. And if you don't have that support, again, it's put it out there. Put it out there to the universe. Pray to God, pray to your angels, pray to your guides, pray to your ancestors, whatever works for you. Put it out there and continue working towards it, and don't lose hope.
Yeah, don't lose hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a pinhole, sometimes that's all it is. And sometimes it's just the knowledge that the hope is there is enough to sustain us. And sometimes, and it's okay to surrender. It's okay to go, I give up. I've given up many times. And that's been part of how I've been able to move forward. I release my fight, and I go, fine, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the answers start to come.
That's a great place to be.
It's okay to surrender. It's okay to not know. It's okay to struggle. That's fine. That's part of the deal. Find support. You're not alone. And some obvious avenues, I think, would be totally justifiable to say AWAKEN offers so much to the community. Greg has built something that isn't just the physical aspect here. There's lots of people who are connected in the community that brings so much to the community that just a little bit of digging, AWAKEN, is it awakenc.com?
awakench.com and .org. both work.
Okay.
Both work.
Okay.
So perfect example. And this is why I created AWAKEN, because I wanted it to be a resource to help people. So you can come to the physical center in Warrington, come to our meditations. There's actually one tonight, sit in on some of the group healings, get some individual healings, all that kind of stuff, guidance, all that. Or just by going online, awakenche.org, Center for Human Evolution. That's the CHE, that's the chi of it all. The website is a directory and event calendar. So you can find other events happening all the time. There's hundreds of events happening every month in the area, Buxmont area, and a little greater, that are in the website listed on the calendar. And it's also a directory of people, practitioners, places, all that kind of stuff, that's available for you. So always a great thing. And feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on Facebook or through the website, however you need to. And what's a good way to reach you?
Right. Well, Wendy and I, you can find us at wendyrose.com. Wendy with an I. She always does her little heart over the eyes of everything she does. She's cute like that. wendyrose.com is where you can find information about us, our services. We offer a lot. I don't want to go into all of it here because that's a secondary thing. We offer a lot. We're here. And if you feel called to reach out to us, that's the place to do it, wendyrose.com. You can email us at wendy@wendyrose.com or sam@wendyrose.com. But stop on by, say hi, see who we are, and if it fits for you, great, we're happy to work with you. Or we're happy to help you connect with who is a better match for you. You don't have to work with you. We can help you proceed somehow. Though.
Yeah, and they do a lot of healing work, a lot of counseling work, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
helping you on your spiritual
Life coaching
path,
and
life
classes,
coaching, yeah.
self-development, self-care, self-ascension practices. Wendy's whole
Awesome.
mission is self-love, and she does it ridiculously well.
Awesome.
She's helped me a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so great. And last little plug,
Yeah.
because Sam is also an amazing musician, and you have a music website as well.
I do. SamuelHainesMusic.com. I offer original compositions celebrating life's special moments, weddings, anniversaries, mitzvahs, anything that you want a unique classical style piece of music written for you. It can be a small piece, a big piece, a fun piece would be the goal. If that idea tickles you, SamuelHainesMusic.com, or you can find me on Facebook here and start the conversation somehow. But either way, you're going to have a really great life. Reach for it. Believe in yourself. Dream big.
Dream big.
Dream big and go home. It's
Dream
both
huge.
them kind of thing. Dream
huge.
Dream big.
Why stop it big?
Yeah, go big. Reach for the stars.
Right? This is my last tip of information.
Yeah.
Dream big, start small. Because you need to be able to start somehow that is manageable to you.
That's right. That's right. Sabotage starts with reaching too far, right? So the small attainable steps are the way to go.
And celebrate each goal along the way. And
celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrate. Enjoy.
Celebrate.
Lighten up. Lighten up already.
So thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm
Thank you
Greg
so much.
Campisi.
And Sam Haines.
Sam Haines, and thanks.